the system?
I think, I'll give you an analogy, a simple story. When I assumed office as governor of Central Bank, there was no day that I woke up and went to bed without at least one person confronting me to ask you about assisting him with getting his money that was trapped in one bank or the other. I woke up one morning, I got a call at about 6 o'clock from a chap, from what he said later, about 6 o'clock. So I called the person back. And I said, the person calling me this time must be an emergency. And he said, yes, he was calling from Alaba. And he mentioned his name, which I don't quite remember. He said the reason why he was calling was that he had 200,000 naira. And that he was calling me to find out the bank that was safe enough that he would put his 200,000 naira. Today, Nigerians have taken that for granted. You used to wake up each morning wondering which bank was still in clearing or not. Since post-consolidation, not a single bank has gone out of clearing. And that confidence has buoyed up that a number of bank accounts, depositors, millions of Nigerians now own bank accounts. And you now have total number of bank branches from about 3,000 to over 5,000 today. From 13 million bank accounts in 2003 to over 30 million today. The confidence level is huge. The deposit base is also growing by the day. And that tells you that's a measure of the confidence. The fact that in spite of the global crisis, even in spite of the blaring headlines on newspapers and attempts by some people to stampede the system into crisis, we are not seeing a decline in deposit. People are not taking their money to put under their mattresses. In many industrial countries, I bet you today, people are taking their money and putting under their mattresses.
Maybe in the case here, people just don't have that money to take out anymore. But then, let's come to one of the most talked about, if not the most talked about issue today in Nigeria, the Naira, and what's been described as the free fall of the Naira, the crash of the Naira. What's responsible for this crash? And if we might take it further, to also ask you to clarify on something you were reported to have said, that the CBN deliberately allowed the exchange value of the Naira to adjust. Now we'll take it step by step. First, what's responsible for this crash?
Two quick things. First is that for me, it's a very painful thing, personally. Nobody ever deliberately is happy seeing a house you build crumble under your head. Don't forget, we reformed this market significantly in 2006, and that's what led to the convergence of the parallel and the official exchange rate for the first time in 20 years, and they remained within a band of no more than 2 to 5% divergence between the parallel and official rate. From 152 naira to the dollar as at March 2006, and the official was about 127. The 152 kept coming down until it merged with the official, and even as at the time when this global crisis blew open last year, the parallel market was about 118, highest 120, and the official 116, 117. And they were very close. So for me, it's painful, really, still sitting and seeing it unravel, as it were. But I must also say, we need to put it in context, that it could have been a lot, much worse. If we didn't resist even the advice of foreign major international institutions, even the pressure from them, for us to sell a lot of our foreign reserves during the time of boom. I must say I even got a query for that, for resisting them and so on and so forth. But because we did that, then in 2005, 2006, 2007, in 2005, 2005, there was so much pressure from our international organizations that they had even to write to query us about the way we were doing it. We insisted on doing it that way. And because we resisted them, we were able to build at least $20 billion in reserves, more than we would otherwise have done if we had taken their advice. We would have frittered away the reserves then. So we built up sufficient or significant level of reserves. And now the crisis came. The global crisis now came. Capital flows got frozen. Capital inflows literally ceased. But on the other hand, because of the global crisis, portfolio investors who had invested in Nigeria, credit lines that have been given to our banks or investors to invest in Nigeria, even foreign direct investments and so on and so forth, all those inflows now were under pressure in their home countries to return. And so they became massive outflows. But on the other hand, your oil price also collapsed. Both the price and the quantity of export, both of them collapsed. And then you have massive outflows. So the global crisis is unlike any other time in history. At some other times, you could have just maybe an oil price shock. But then there will be global capital flows. But now, the capital flows frozen, and so on. You know, we used to receive almost like an average of about over $2 billion a month. I mean, coming into the central bank. And today, as we speak, last month we got about 800 million. This month about 600 and something million. But on the other hand, you had outflows in billions.
Right.
So, in that kind of context, what do? We've designed a strategy to ensure that even if this crisis that nobody knows how deep and how long the global crisis will lasts us for the next 3 years, that we're able to conserve enough foreign exchange to move the Nigeria, to continue to oil the system forward. But people need also to see what is going on globally.
Okay.
Other countries, Britain, their pound has crashed by more than 44%. Our own currency has depreciated at the official rate at barely 24–25%. But other economies, the exchange rates are all massively.
It's running around. We'll take a pause here. We'll just take a short break. We'll be back, and we'll still keep on with the issue of the falling naira with the central bank governor. Stay with us on this program.
What Nigeria requires most today is accountability and accountable leadership. That explains the introduction of the e-payment system in the conduct of government business to check corruption and waste in our public life.
The ultimate objective is that the transaction of government can easily be traced. Movement and funds within government agency or within government and some other departments or some other beneficiaries can also be traced and targeted.
Like everything new, the e-payment is not without initial hitches. However, with your support, these hitches will surely be overcome. The 7-point agenda is not Mr. President's alone. It is also yours. It is a consensus that history will never forget those who sit on the fence at the crucial moment their contribution is needed the most by their country. Too much dosage of indifference and cynicism is neither good for you nor for the country. Think positive and act positive. Stand up to be counted among the patriots. This is the spirit of the 7-point agenda.